What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
And say happy Thanksgiving, guys. It's our Thanksgiving episode.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Woo. Turkey.
That's the one. It's the turkey
gobble,
one.
Gobble.
Gobble, gobble, bitches. We're here for Thanksgiving. And what we like to do on this podcast is to take things that are okay or, not the best, and make them better.
Are you saying Thanksgiving is not good? Because I totally love Thanksgiving, even without all the improvements we're going to come up with.
Thanksgiving
that
is
is true. I guess
my favorite holiday.
Yeah, that's a misnomer. I didn't mean to imply that that I don't like this. I do love Thanksgiving. But there's always room for improvement. You can always improve. So our question today is, how would you improve Thanksgiving? And that's it. So Chris, I'm going to let you start off. Where did you go with this?
So in order to improve Thanksgiving, I wanted to come up with some rules that we can follow. Just if everyone follows these rules, then Thanksgiving will be better in general. I came up with 3 rules. So
I love how way to improve things. I think everything needs more rules. Everyone just follows the rules. We're going to have a good time.
yeah, it's like laws. Like everyone agrees upon them, and then no one dies because we all agree that murder is bad.
Yeah, except I heard that as if you were like a babysitter or something. Just like,
yeah, if we follow the rules, no one dies.
welcome to my sleepover party. If everyone follows the fucking rules, we're going to have a good time. And if not, we're going to fall off schedule and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if you agree with my rules or not, and we can implement them maybe. So, for the first rule, most people consider like turkey the staple food of Thanksgiving. I kind of disagree with that. I think the staple food is pie, because pies are just awesome. They actually have a deep history in the traditions of Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims. So, like, Pilgrims brought their pie recipes to America with them and had like English-style meat pies. They had fruit and berry pies. They actually favored pies because they required less flour than bread, and they didn't have to have like a brick bread oven. And they were able to like include filler ingredients in their pies to stretch out their rations. If they had like limited supplies, they could stretch it out a little longer.
Also, like, turkey just isn't that good.
Well, turkey is still good. I like turkey.
Where do you guys fall? I mean, me, I am on the opinion that Thanksgiving dinner does not actually need to have the turkey.
I disagree with that.
So, smoked turkey is delicious. Roasted turkey, white meat is fine. Dark meat is very, very good.
I always prefer white meat. I know I'm in the minority with that, but I like white meat but more.
I will say, with a smoked turkey, white meat is fucking fantastic. It's just that smoking turkey is annoying.
I like the white meat, but in my experience, if you have like the turkey, like the nice roast turkey, which is still good, like it's still a good dinner, especially because it's covered in gravy. But then you have like the ham next to it, like you have a nice roast ham next to it. I'm going back to that ham every time.
No, I always prefer turkey over ham.
I don't know. I'm a ham guy over turkey guy, definitely.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's okay. 2 out of 3 people can be correct on the podcast.
But back to pies, because pies are... I would agree pies are better than turkey.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's arguing that one.
Yeah.
And then apple pies they became popular because apples were easy to dry and store over the winter. So that's kind of why they became like an American staple, and they became very popular. It's because they're easy to preserve. And it's believed that in the first Thanksgiving feast, they included like fowl and venison in their meal, and that those could have been in pie form. We don't actually know for sure, but there's a belief that pie was included in the first Thanksgiving feast. So it has roots in Thanksgiving. It's very traditional. Everyone loves pie, so that's my first rule. Every dish has to be a pie. And pies are very versatile, so you can have like turkey pie. You can still include the turkey, and you have best of both worlds. Obviously, cranberry pie is a thing, so like you can have that. Sweet potato pie. And I even found a recipe of stuffing pie, which I don't know why you'd want to have stuffing in a pie, but...
I mean, it's bread and bread.
Yeah,
I eat it.
I guess.
I'd eat it. I love stuffing.
I guess if it was there, I'd eat it. Maybe with some gravy, because I feel like it would
Might
get
be a
pretty
little
dry.
dry. Yeah. I don't know what you gain over just eating stuffing, to be fair, by adding a pie crust, but I'd try it.
Yeah, I would try to visit there. So that was rule number 1. Everything is a pie. Moving on to rule number 2. So most people know that family arguments and disagreements are a common thing at Thanksgiving. People tend to argue, or families tend to argue. And psychologist Leonard Felder, he took a random sample of more than 1,350 people, and he found that 75% of them said that at least one person in their family annoyed them.
That's a pretty low bar. Like, I think 75% is like, you know, I imagine that number would be even higher if I had to guess. If it's just does your family annoy you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I guess he just had a survey question. Do you have a family member that annoys you? Yes or no? So people might have a different opinion about what annoy means, but just the mere fact that they do have that, and that Thanksgiving forces family all together into one place, kind of forms a situation where you have an argument that you're going to have arguments come up. And psychologist Chris Logan said that whenever you have a person that's very similar to you, you tend to focus on the differences that they have from you, just because they're different from you. So he said that since on Thanksgiving, everyone's eating the same food, they're celebrating the same holiday, they're all in the family from a similar background, that's just going to cause a situation where conversations will naturally sway towards differences in opinion, and that will foster growth in arguments. So everything about Thanksgiving is leading you towards an argument. So how can we avoid these arguments? Because obviously they're bad if you want to have a good Thanksgiving. So my second rule is that all arguments will be solved with a wishbone. So you have a turkey. With the turkey comes a wishbone. I mean, your turkeys will be in pie form now, but you can still have the wishbone. And just whenever you sense an argument coming up, you take out the wishbone. Whoever gets the bigger side wins the argument, and then you don't talk about it anymore, and you just move on. And you probably need more than one wishbone, because I imagine there will be more than one disagreement. But you can get more than one wishbone, I imagine.
Can you?
You can. I guess
If
you
this
can
is a rule for everybody. Everybody's going to need extra wishbones.
I mean,
where does it
everyone.
come from?
Yeah, I guess most people don't get more than one turkey.
Hypothetical question. What if someone starts arguing that we shouldn't do the wishbone resolution anymore, and then they win?
Well, then they're not following the rules, and they're not going to have any fun.
Good answer. Continue.
Yeah. So that's rule number 2. Arguments solved by a wishbone. Rule number 3. This is my final rule. So I wanted to kind of dress more. I wanted to come up with a dress code so you could become more like the Pilgrims. I wanted to see what they wore way back when, what kind of outfits they had, and I wanted to try to wear those as well. So what did they wear? They are often depicted as wearing a black and white outfit, and then they had those tall, flat hats with a buckle on it. That's kind of the stereotypical image of a pilgrim. And I was wondering what that buckle on the hat was. What was the purpose for it? I didn't really know. So I looked it up, and the actual answer is actually pretty boring and kind of obvious. It's to adjust for the head sizes, so you can put hats on different head sizes.
Why is this on our
I would have
podcast?
guessed that. Yeah.
We have caps with those little notches on the back. It's basically the same function. But what I found that was interesting is that pilgrims actually didn't have those hats, or at least they didn't have the hats with the buckles on it. So that hat is called a capotane. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's just basically the style of the hat with the tall, flat top. So they did wear capotanes, but they didn't have the buckles on them. The image of the pilgrim wearing the buckle on their hats actually came from, it was popularized by artists who got confused by, they thought the pilgrims were later sects of Puritans that did wear buckles. And the buckle is actually a symbol of high status and wealth, because they're sort of expensive to make. So it's a class thing. And pilgrims were actually lower class, so they were not wealthy. They couldn't afford the buckles or the hats with the buckles, and they didn't have buckles on their shoes or anything. Instead, they used laces. So laces are a lot cheaper, so I actually don't know if they had laces on their hats. That looks weird to me, but maybe they did, I don't know. So out of all this, I want to institute the third rule to look more like pilgrims, and my takeaway was that no buckles are allowed. That includes hats and shoes, but we don't really usually have buckles on our hats and shoes. But the more relevant thing to us is that belts have buckles on them. So no belts are allowed.
I mean, if you're wearing a belt at Thanksgiving dinner, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that seems like a sketchy proposition from the start.
Exactly. You always unbuckle your belt after eating anyway because you ate way too much, and you're going to eat even more with all these pies around, and you're going to have to unbuckle. So I'm just taking away that step. It definitely improves Thanksgiving. No belts are allowed. So yeah, those are my 3 rules of Thanksgiving. Every dish is a pie. Disagreements solved with a wishbone, and no belts.
Okay.
Ben, what did you do?
Yeah, so I actually, had a similar, at least, thought process to the start of yours that really the culmination of Thanksgiving is the pie. And I also thought that we should probably make the pie a little more front and center in this whole thing. And I was trying to figure out, even outside of Thanksgiving dinner, what are other ways can we increase the pie presence in Thanksgiving? So the first thing I thought of is the first thing you kind of do on Thanksgiving, which is the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And I really tried to figure out a way to make a float out of pie. Or not a float, sorry, a balloon out of pie. And you can't, obviously, that's not going to work. What you might be able to do, so it is theoretically possible, maybe, to make a meringue that floats. So when you're making a meringue, what you're doing really is like whipping egg whites and then getting air incorporated in them. And that's what makes them, sort of light, like the way they are. Conceivably, if you had a sealed kitchen that was full of a gas that was lighter than air, and you whipped it in that and then baked it in an oven full of that gas, conceivably, you could make a lighter than air meringue.
Is the meringue airtight?
Ben, that is actually would be an amazing product.
It would be great. To answer Chris's question, I don't think a meringue is airtight. So I don't think it would float for very long, and possibly not at all. I could not find anyone who'd actually tried it.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, for hopefully obvious reasons, I can't find anyone who's tried this. It would
If you ate a meringue filled with helium, would your voice get squeaky?
So it's funny you asked that, because the way I actually found this, that wasn't the question they were, or the hypothesis they were proposing. They were saying that if you had some made with helium and some made with xenon, helium makes it higher pitched, xenon makes it lower pitched. They were saying that because the meringues would be full of that gas, they would actually crunch at higher and lower pitches. And if you use different proportions, you could make an organ that you play by eating meringues.
Wait, this was
What?
an article?
This was a theory. From a website
This was
called
science?
No, it was definitely not science.
Was it on a forum or something? Where'd you
It's this
find it?
website called Half Bakery. It's
I love it.
It's just weird ideas, basically. It's weird ideas that are not particularly thought through. So there's that. You might be able to make a meringue float that, would last for a short amount of time before it comes crashing into the ground.
The crunch is slightly higher.
The crunch is slightly higher. Yeah. So there's that idea. But obviously that can't be my entire answer, because there is no way to go into any sort of depth on this.
Well, yeah, because it floats.
Because it floats.
You can only go up.
Right, exactly. So I decided to go in a different direction. And I think probably more so for me than either of you, another big part of Thanksgiving is football. There's always 3 football games on Thanksgiving. Generally, at least at my family's house, we'll start eating around halftime of the first one, and then kind of drift back in during the second one, and, lie around for a while in a food coma, and then eat pie around the end of the second one. So not only is football a big part of my Thanksgiving, it's also pretty linked to the pie, right? And I decided to make a more direct link by making a football stadium-sized pie.
It's a big pie.
It is a very large pie. So the first question is, what stadium should we use? Because our goal here is basically just use the stadium itself as our pie dish. We ran into a problem here because most NFL stadiums, there's kind of 2 issues. One, some of them are domes. That doesn't work, obviously, because you can't put a pie crust in a dome. It's just going to be on top. That's stupid. It's not a pie. Then most of them aren't really circles. They're kind of just weird like flat ovals. And they're also far too tall most of the time. You're not going to have like structural integrity if your pie is too tall. It's just going to collapse outwards. So eventually what I landed on was the Rose Bowl, it's actually UCLA's, currently the UCLA Bruin football team stadium. It's in Pasadena, California. It's almost 100 years old. It was opened in 1922. It's not quite a circle. It's like 100 feet further in diameter, like north to south than east to west, but it's as close as we're going to get. And that's, I think, pretty close enough to a circle for our purposes.
I mean, you're not gonna get a stadium that's a complete circle because football stadiums are not like they're rectangles.
Well, I mean, this is pretty close. Like this is as close as you're gonna get. So, and yes, this is a college football stadium. NFL football is what's played on Thanksgiving. However, the Rose Bowl has actually hosted 5 Super Bowls, so I'm calling it a part-time NFL stadium and therefore valid for this question.
Good job finding a loophole in the rules you made up.
Oh yeah, it's what we do here. It's almost exclusively what we do here, actually. So how close are these dimensions? So a pie dish is somewhere between 9 to 9.5 inches in diameter and 1 1/4 to 1/2 inches deep. The Rose Bowl is not quite a perfect circle. It's 880 feet north to south and then 695 feet east to west. So I guess it's like 175 feet longer than it is wide. But that's pretty close, once again, all things considered. And that averages out to like 787 feet overall, if we're saying it's, roughly a circle. Weirdly, I couldn't get a good source on the height of the Rose Bowl. If you Google Rose Bowl height, the little like quick info box on Google pops up and says 100 feet, but gives no source. And clicking through links, I could find no source for that. I found links to people questioning why Google said it was 100 feet. But no one who would actually confirm it was 100 feet. I compared that to like other stadiums that I could find more reliable heights on, and it seemed at least relatively accurate. My best guess is actually it coming from like Google Earth data, but once again, I couldn't find an actual source. I'm going to say it's 100 feet. It seems close enough. So given that pie dish dimension of like 9 to 9.5 by 1 1/4 to 1.5, the ratio between the diameter of the pie dish and the depth of it is somewhere from 6 to 1 and 7.6 to 1. And using those dimensions for the Rose Bowl, we're actually at 7.87 to 1. So it basically is a pie dish, just, much, much larger. So if we're going to make this pie, what's that actually entail? So the surface area of a normal pie dish, just, like a 9-inch pie dish, is 9,450 square inches. That's not right. What? How did I do this? Wait, what did I Google? Wait, hold on. What did I do? Jesus. All right, hold on. Oh, did I multiply that to? Oh, god damn it. All right. A standard just 9-inch pie dish, the surface area is about 63 square inches. The Rose Bowl, the surface area is about 70,128,000 square inches. So that means that our like pie crust area is roughly 1.113 million times larger than a standard pie. We're going to call it 1 million times just for simplicity, because I don't want to deal with the math. And also that math is a little hazy anyway, so let's...
It's based on 100 feet high Rose Bowl.
Yeah. Actually,
and by hazy, do you mean the part we just cut out of you frantically redoing your math?
No, that's actually not even the part I mean. What I mean is related to Chris's point, which is that I'm kind of ignoring the actual interior area because I don't know the exact dimensions of the Rose Bowl. I only know rough ones. So
your surface area is going to increase because you have ridges for every seat.
Yeah, well, I'm also just basically pretending that both are just circles and using that surface area. I'm not actually using 3-dimensional. So it's hazy all around, but we're pretty close. Pretty close is good enough. The one tricky thing is that a standard pie crust is only about 1/8 of an inch thick, like when you bake it. Clearly, it's going to have to be thicker than that for structural integrity. So that 1/8 of an inch thick, on a like 1.5 inch deep pie crust is roughly 2.5% of the overall depth of the pie. So with that 100-foot depth, we need a thickness of about 2.5 feet, which is 240 times thicker than a standard pie crust. So that means that our pie crust just recipe is going to have to be, a million times the area and 240 times thicker. So it's going to be basically 240 million batches of pie crust, which is going to require 600 million cups, which is about 160 million pounds of flour, 240 million cups or 120 million pounds of butter, 5 million cups each of salt and sugar, which is 2.3 million pounds of sugar, 3 million pounds of salt, and around 6.5 million gallons of ice water. I do not know how you mix this.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to cut that butter in.
It is. Went over how pies don't require a lot of flour, and then you say we need like millions. we need a lot of flour.
In a regular pie crust, you need like 2.5 cups of flour. Which
guys, stop arguing. Get the fucking wishbone.
See, my rules work.
Yes, and a regular pie, it actually is not that much flour. You're just replacing a lot of it with butter, which is, sure, healthy. Why not? But yeah, I don't know how you mix this. It's probably not possible. Marcus is right. Cutting the butter in is going to suck.
just like an army of people.
Right, yeah. I definitely don't know how you bake it. Figure that one out. I don't know. It'll be fine. But say we have our pie crust. We need to fill it. I didn't go too in-depth on this because it's going to be a lot of the same math as the crust. The proportions are a little bit different because now we are dealing with volume. Once again, I don't have an exact volume of the Rose Bowl. I found a number of 20 million cubic feet that someone came to by some witchcraft. I don't know.
It's called math, Ben. It's what we do here.
Heresy. That's about 150 million gallons. The approximate volume of a standard pie dish is about 1/4 of a gallon. So we're going to need, whatever we fill it with is going to be about 600 million times as much filling as a regular pie. Personally, I would go with a no-bake pie. Maybe like a coconut cream would be good.
I feel like coconuts are a good place to start because at least coconuts are like a bit bigger.
Right, yeah.
As opposed to like, if you're making a cherry pie, that's a lot of fucking cherries.
It is, yeah.
You could just keep throwing coconuts in there.
Yeah. Or like, several orchard of apples. Who knows? I don't know. It's not going to go well.
Watermelon pie.
Jesus.
Watermelon pie. Is that a thing? Must be.
God, I hope not.
I don't think so. Watermelons aren't watermelons
is.
like mostly just water? Like,
it would be nigh impossible
you'd have to reduce it.
Right? Yeah. You'd have to like
into like
dehydrate your watermelon, which leaves not a lot.
Basically,
you just need a lot of
just
watermelons.
Sugar. I feel like sugar and like it would not be good.
They have creamy watermelon pie. It was like mixed with cream.
I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, no, I don't like any of that.
Watermelon also doesn't have much flavor. Like that's pretty much just a cream pie that like tastes a little off.
I mean, they have watermelon flavored things.
But that's not actually what watermelons taste like.
True.
So, anyway, long story short, if you made a pie in the Rose Bowl, it would be very complicated and large, which I guess shouldn't be a surprise. But then, you could much more directly have pie while watching football, I guess, if they were, I guess, also playing a game in the pie. I don't know. I didn't think that part through.
Yeah, they can't play football anymore.
I mean, they could. It would be really awkward and they might drown.
Can you swim in coconut cream filling?
Oh, totally. Marcus, what did you do?
So, the way I usually start this is finding the part of the holiday I like the least. But, like I said before, after I implied the other way, I quite like Thanksgiving. It's a holiday without a lot of pretense. Like, take 4th of July or Easter. Like, they're supposed to be about freedom or Jesus and whatnot. But the practical result is that you get together with family and eat a bunch of food. Thanksgiving is about doing literally just that. So I don't really have a problem with Thanksgiving traditions. But there's one particular aspect of Thanksgiving that I think could use some improvement, and that's the Thanksgiving Day Parade. I'm not actually sure how prevalent it is outside the New York, New England area, but every year there's specifically the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City with its trademark giant balloon characters.
I don't think I've ever watched it. I don't think I've ever seen the actual parade. I've seen clips of the parade. I've never actually watched the whole parade.
Yeah, so we put it on, like it's at our house we'll put it on the TV, but just kind of we feel like we should and no one really watches it. Like usually it'll be put on in the living room and no one will be in the living room for the next 3 hours.
That's pretty much how it goes for us too.
But just for those who don't know too much about the parade, and just for funsies, because that's what we do here, just a few fun facts about the history of the parade. It's been around for quite a while. Actually, the first one was in 1924. But it's actually only the second oldest parade, Thanksgiving Day Parade, with the first being the Gimbels Parade, which beat it by about 4 years, starting in 1920. And that is currently known by its much more capitalistic name, the 6ABC Dunkin' Donuts Thanksgiving Day Parade, or 6ABCDDTDP for short. It is, however, the largest parade in the world, full stop, not just Thanksgiving Parade, largest parade in the world. 3.5 million people attended in 2016, in person. the viewership on TV was 50 million. So I guess it does spread a bit outside the the New England area just on based on those numbers.
Question for both of you. I guess mostly for Marcus, because I feel like the answer, since Chris has never watched all of it. Have you ever gone to the parade?
No, even though growing up, I lived probably, I lived like 40 minutes outside the city, so it would have been very doable for me to go to the parade, but we never actually ended up attending in person.
So when I was younger, we lived in Connecticut, and we did 1 year go, and it was a year where it was like, I don't remember what year it was. I can actually look up the exact temperature. It was brutally cold. It was like below freezing, I think.
Oh, they were, the lowest maybe it was probably the same year, but 1 year it was 19 degrees on the day of the parade.
Do you know what year it was?
I don't have the year on my notes.
But all I remember is that all the balloon. Well, I don't actually remember anything because I was like, like 4 or something. But like I know all the balloons kept like deflating because it was too cold and like they couldn't maintain pressure. It was great. Apparently my sister was miserable. I was just very young, so I don't remember anything.
Well, there's too much ad block on the site for me to see what the date is, except that it says 1876, which I don't think is accurate because the parade wasn't running then.
Also, probably not the one I went to.
Yeah, probably not that one. But anyway, continuing my list of fun facts here. During World War II, this was the one time they actually stopped the balloons because the army needed all the rubber and helium that they had.
There's a helium shortage,
Yeah, going on right now, but I don't think that's going to impact, but it's not going to impact the parade more than the pandemic going on. So we'll see what it looks like this year. It is happening in some form or fashion. They haven't given exact details on what's going on with it. This one I like this fact a lot. So right before the balloons go on camera, I guess you'll call them balloonists, will bring the balloons to the sunny side of the street so that they'll be in the sun and heat up, and so that the balloons get just that extra bit puffier before they're on camera. The first balloons started actually pretty much right away in 1928, which I thought was pretty cool. So they kind of right from the start, they started doing these balloons, and they did them to replace the live animals that were formerly in the parade. So the first bunch of balloons were the carnivorous fish, the tiger, the hummingbird, the sky elephant, and the early bird, which I was curious to see what they look like, and Wikipedia helpfully linked the pages to fish, tiger, hummingbird, elephant, and just bird, which did not show me what those balloons look like.
Not actually that helpful, yeah.
Carnivorous fish?
Carnivorous fish, which I imagine is probably a shark or something.
Okay.
But it's also 1928, so some dude could have just been like, this one's the fish. It's got sharp teeth because I felt like putting them on. Also, awesome fact here. The original balloons weren't deflated after the parade. In fact, they were set loose, and they climbed up to about 2,000 feet in altitude. Then they deflated, and they ran what they called, Macy's ran a balloon race, where the people who found and brought back the balloons won a prize of $100.
That's amazing.
Which is $1,500 in today's cash, so it wasn't a paltry sum. And they did this for the first 4 years that they had balloons. They would just finish the race and be like, let them go, and whoever brings it back gets money. I guess, 1928 is or 1932 would be 4 years later, is the tipping point of where it was just cheaper to hire somebody to clean the balloons than to have the public do it. So, I mean, that's a bunch of fun facts. So really, what's the issue? And this might just be my personal preferences, but how do you guys, aren't parades just kind of boring in general? Like,
yeah, I haven't gone to a parade in a long time. I used to go to like 4th of July parades, but not anymore.
They're not exciting.
Yeah, like the balloons are neat to see. That's the cool one. But I'm not staying tuned in for like, and sorry, but for the marching bands, like the street performances, like whatever other thing is a big group of people proceeding slowly to some sort of noise. Like
Disney parades are fun, or like the ones with the lights at night. If you go to a Disney parade at night, they have like the giant lights.
Yeah, like they're all, I wonder, maybe we're just jaded to modern entertainment, everything being like crazy, but like it just doesn't hold my interest. So what I want to do is I want to take the best part of the parade, the balloons, and just take that concept and turn it up to 11. And 11 is clearly the setting at which balloons are traded in for piñatas. Now, you may be thinking, Marcus, that's a really stupid idea. Piñatas don't float. So which is why we're just going to take the balloons and fill them with as much candy as possible.
Wait, so they're not going to float?
They are going to float. So we're going to take the balloons. They're going to float, but they're also going to be filled with candy. So we're going to find out how much candy we can put in them before they don't float anymore.
Okay.
So a cubic foot of helium is enough to lift 0.069 pounds. The average Thanksgiving parade balloon has about 12,000 cubic feet of helium in it, so it can lift a total of 800 pounds. The balloon itself weighs about 400 pounds, which leaves us 400 pounds to fill with candy. A Snickers bar weighs 48 grams, which I found an article from the BBC that was complaining in 2013 that they reduced the size of Snicker bars from 58 grams to 48 grams, and the reasoning was that it was so that people would portion control better, and not so that Snickers saves money on producing Snicker bars. But 48 grams is about 0.1 pounds, and so we could fit 3,779 Snicker bars in each balloon. So is that enough candy? Does everyone that visits get candy if we do this? There's, like I said before, there's 3.5 million people attending this Thanksgiving Day parade, and there's only 16 giant balloons in the roster, so only 1 in 58 people get candy.
And I imagine people aren't going to just take one piece.
Yeah, so that it gets sketchy there. So I looked up from switching to helium to hydrogen gas, because hydrogen actually weighs even less than helium, and thus provides more lifting power. But the numbers don't really scale up that much. It goes from 1 in 58 to 1 in 53 people, but still not enough. The other option you have is you can keep adding balloons, but even to get to like a 1 in 4 people get one Snickers bar, you'd be going up to 200 additional balloons, which I think is going to be excessive. I think even as cool as this idea is, after 200 times, I might be bored. And so I was kind of mulling on it for a bit, and after thinking about it, I think it's okay that not everyone gets candy. It's more like a surprise. Like, is the piñata gonna explode on your part of the parade route? Like, you're not going in with the expectation that everyone gets candy. You're going in with the expectation that there's a chance that 3,000 Snicker bars get dropped in where you are on the parade route.
You said they heat up balloons in the sun, so is it going to be all melted Snickers bars?
Well, you're going to have shifted priorities. You know, if the priority is not to melt all the chocolate inside, you know, you're going to keep it on the cooler side of the street when possible.
But you got to keep it floating.
Well, the helium doesn't have to be hot to lift up the gas. The helium is just lighter than air. So it's a density thing, not a heat thing. If you heat the gas more, you get more lift. So that's, you know, what you do with hot air balloons. You can, you know, heat up the gas more to get higher and higher. That said, you probably don't want to do that if you plan on having candy inside. But yeah, no, I think it still works and is still exciting, even if you're not guaranteed candy. Because it's really all about the spectacle anyway. You know, there's 3.5 million people there, but there's also 50 million people watching who obviously are not expecting to get a Snickers bar, but are more than happy to see, you know, anyone else get some. So this leads me to the next step. How are you going to break a giant piñata anyway? These things are huge. So they're pretty high up there, which is tricky because shooting projectiles in a crowded parade isn't exactly ideal. You could have them like self-destruct in some way, you know, have a hatch, or have them, you know, literally tear themselves apart somehow. But I feel like you're taking the fun part out of the piñating, which is actually being able to beat up something and destroy it and get rewarded instead of punished like you would in day-to-day life. And then the other thing was like, you could bring it down to the ground. You know, you could like have it, you know, float during the main parade, and there's like a section where it comes down. But again, it kind of takes out the surprise of where the candy is. And having it so that the masses can kind of just like swarm over it like a bunch of ants is like somewhat strange to me. I didn't really like that mental image. So here's my plan to fix all those problems. The balloons are high, but New York City is also tall. So where the balloons go down, they go down these avenues where there are buildings on either side. So you could set up platforms for people to get up to balloon height. Then it's just a matter of kind of just like jumping at the balloon and taking your best swing. So I imagine this as a full-on like Wipeout American Ninja Warrior style spectacle. So you have built up on the sides of the buildings at this, you know, parade balloon height, you have all these different obstacles and platforms, rope swings, whatever. And it's like literally like it's like a competition show. So now you have this whole narrative and drama going into this parade. Instead of, it's not, hey, look at this pretty balloon. It's check out all this crazy balloons and also watch this dude try to hit it with a stick. And this ties into like so many more opportunities because you can have like sponsored teams from companies, like the Coca-Cola balloon team is going to be, you know, a great way for all these companies to, you know, get their name out there. And, you know, you get to, you know, have different teams to root for and all that. I think it would be cool.
How are you going to prevent people from dying?
You're not.
So safety is my next point.
Oh.
As far as safety goes, I think the main way is that you have basically a big net suspended at some height above street level. Like you have like circus performers, they have like the catch nets for people. And I think it's actually great because it keeps the, competitor safe, but it also now has provided a barrier that completely kind of clears out the street below. And what you can do now is you can just have that mass of kids on street level that are not, climbing up onto the platforms. That would be crazy. So all the kids are at street level, and you'd have the net set up so that they have enough space between them that the Snicker bars would fall through. So like it opens up and all the Snicker comes raining down onto the street that all the kids get. So it's kind of like a double parade where up top is all the drama and the competition, the adult part of the parade. And at the bottom is like the whole group of just this mass of kids that follows the balloons. As far as actual real life safety goes, this is admittedly probably insufficient. But in good Thanksgiving parade tradition, safety measures are only implemented after something bad happens. So, like in 1997, the Cat in the Hat balloon, bumped into a lamppost, and the falling debris stuck a parade goer, fracturing her skull and leaving her in a coma for a month. Jesus. So they decided that, hey, maybe balloons shouldn't be so big, and implemented balloon size regulations. In 2005, the M&M's balloon collided with a streetlight in Times Square. Part of the light fell on two sisters who suffered minor injuries. And as a result, they're like, hey, maybe we should have some rules about putting balloons out when it's too windy, and maybe have people figure out the parade route ahead of time so the M&M balloon doesn't run into shit all willy-nilly. So really, as far as safety goes, you don't have to worry about it too much because you're just going to do it, and then next year they'll tell you if that was bad or not. And that's what I got. Just American Ninja Warrior Piñata Party parade.
How difficult is it going to be to pop these balloons? I feel like if it's a giant balloon and you hit it and make a tiny hole, it's not going to pop. It's just going to slowly deflate.
So there's kind of two ways to think about it. So one is that, it's a battle of attrition where at some point you've gotten enough holes or torn something critical where then, it starts slowing down and deflating, and then eventually the big thing collapses. The second is you could segment the balloons so that when you hit one thing, like getting past one bit would definitely release candy from, this 1/10 segment of the balloon. And then that part would be deflated, but the rest of the balloon is still in shape for the next 9 people to go and score points for their, corporate sponsors.
I like that solution. It can be like, if it's a character, it can be like separate body parts. You can be like, I took out its ear.
I will say one funny thing that happened to me during my research was I'd read the safety stuff like early on, and then when I had to go back to it, so I looked up like Thanksgiving Day parade injuries, and all the results were for injuries that incurred on the balloons. And so like the injuries are just like, oh yeah, Snoopy got his left arm stuck in under a bridge in 2008, and they had to remove that arm, and like all the different parts of the balloons like popping or deflating or losing bits as the parade goes on. Nothing about the actual people who got injured.
We have our priorities straight.
Well, I mean, I'll admit, it's better news. I'd rather read a news article about balloon injuries than people injuries, if I wasn't looking specifically to get data on people injuries. And that's how I would improve Thanksgiving, by making the Macy's Day Parade the best it's ever been. And with that brings us to our Would You Rather question. All right, Chris, are you ready for a Would You Rather?
I am ready.
It's a Thanksgiving-related one. Would you rather prepare and eat a Thanksgiving meal made entirely of candy or smoothies?
Wait, so it's made of smoothies, or we're smoothie-izing the Thanksgiving dinner? Like we have a normal Thanksgiving dinner, but we're making it in smoothie form.
So you are preparing a Thanksgiving dinner, and you can either make it entirely out of candy, or it's going to be entirely smoothies.
I guess the question is it a series of smoothies or a single smoothie?
I think that's dealer's choice.
I imagine it as a single smoothie. But I guess you could do it. Both ways work, I guess.
Both are entertaining in different ways.
I think my instinct is that, or my gut reaction is that the candy is just too much candy. I used to have a sweet tooth. I don't anymore. That much sugar is just too much sugar for me now. But Thanksgiving dinner in smoothie form also sounds gross.
So yeah, for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is like the actual like presentation, because it is a holiday. You are celebrating, so you could probably make a really cool looking candy Thanksgiving dinner. It would be weird, like in that it's all candy, and people are like, "What about real food?" And you're like, candy. But you could make definitely like, a faux turkey and like faux side dishes that like resemble a Thanksgiving Day spread.
It's definitely visually more interesting.
The smoothie is like you're just at a big table and it's just like punk.
Yeah, smoothies are like, there's no way to make that look visually pleasing.
Especially if like one of the proponents is gravy. That said, preparing the Thanksgiving smoothie, like the flavor, of course, for the smoothies is going to be much closer to Thanksgiving. And the preparation is going to be much
It'll be easier.
More similar. Because I imagine the way I would prep this would be to basically make the Thanksgiving dinner and then just blend it.
Yeah.
The candy, I'd have to do I'd have to prepare a lot for.
I think it's also going to be much more expensive to. Well, is it? Hold on. Is it going to be more expensive to buy that much candy or buy a Thanksgiving dinner?
Candy's very cheap, especially because it's like right after Halloween.
That's a very good point.
Candy is cheaper, but it's going to be way more to like. Just regardless of what candy you pick, imagine making like a turkey. Like it's just a lot of volume to cover.
What would you make the turkey out of?
I think you just like push a bunch of fun-sized Snickers together.
It'd be Snickers. We've been going to Snickers a lot this episode.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just use Snickers as a placeholder for candy because I figure it's like the candy. Like if you get a mixed bag, it's always got Snickers in it, and they're just universally appealing, which is what you want. You don't want to reign Starburst because Starburst. I like Starburst better than Snickers, but not everyone likes Starburst. I can accept that some people are wrong about them. So you don't want that to be the thing, and it could be a mixed bag of candy. But I didn't want to look up a whole bunch of candy weights, and they'd all be pretty similar.
I mean, you definitely have to have candy corn in there somewhere. Not for the turkey, but for like the corn part of it.
Could you do like creamed candy corn? That sounds disgusting. Why'd I bring that up?
No. You just make corn on the cob candy corn. If you take all the candy corns and put them in a circle, like with the yellow parts outwards, and stack them, you can make a pillar that looks like corn.
So you're not going to have an actual cob? You're not going to like glue them to a stick?
You don't make like a marshmallow column and jam the candy corn into it?
That's actually probably a better way to do it, so that it has some amount of structure.
Okay, so you have candy corn on the cob. You have
Snickers turkey.
A terrifying chocolate turkey.
The turducken brought to you by Hershey's.
Oh, God.
I mean, I imagine it's possible to make a pie out of candy, right?
Yeah. You can definitely make a pie-shaped thing out of candy. Like you can do, it could be filled with Starburst, and you'd have a fruit roll-up or fruit by the foot weave on top.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got to have a balance between chocolate and fruity candies.
And I think it's got to lean way into chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate
because
is way easier to eat in large amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we can do the candy. So let's talk about the smoothies for a minute. I'm trying to imagine the texture of a Thanksgiving smoothie.
Like an all Thanksgiving smoothie? Or
like I'm starting with like just like stuffing gravy turkey. Like the gravy one. The brown one is the one I'm thinking of.
I mean, I don't think it would be that bad.
You would need a good blender because you need to get it pretty smooth.
Yeah, I'm not sure how easy it is to liquefy turkey in particular.
Gravy, you'd have to have gravy to make for the liquid base, but
yeah, like that's a liquid base. The thing is, can you get turkey into a form where the texture isn't off-putting? And I think the answer might be no.
I think you could.
Was there ever a Does It Blend video for turkey?
Let's find out.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure people have blended turkey before.
What blend Thanksgiving dinner?
Like this does seem like an internet thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, he just straight up did this. Oh God, it is a liquid. There was a bone in that.
Yeah, he put just a bone in turkey.
Like, oh God, that's just like literally the consistency of a milkshake. I hate this.
I mean, you also have like the turkey juices as like part of the liquid too, so that's gonna help with the texture.
It just looks like a chocolate milkshake, and that's very upsetting to me.
There's like this cloud of steam coming off it when it's done, and I don't know what that is. Oh no. Oh, it's whipped cream on top. Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's weird. You wouldn't do that if you're actually doing this.
So this appears it was what was it? Cranberry sauce,
apple, pumpkin pie, and a turkey leg.
And a little salt and pepper.
I'll say this: I was thinking that the smoothie would be good and fine, and I think I kind of intended to end up on smoothie. But after seeing it, I don't think I could. I couldn't drink that.
Yeah. God.
It's. You know what it is? It's when you blend thicker things and you just have that little bit of wobble, like the one wobble at the end, where it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
No, I'm off. I'm viscerally unhappy with this smoothie.
I still think I would do it. I don't think I'd
Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I'm watching it now. The whipped cream is weird, but I think I could do everything else.
Like, also, you don't have to put like the bone in there. Like,
yeah, that's weird that you put the bone in there.
Yeah.
The bone might actually be good in there. Bone is tasty. It's what gravy is made out of.
Wait, hold on. Gravy is not made out of bones.
Yeah.
I think it is.
It's not.
No, it's made
It's
from
made
like
out of-
the juices.
It's like drippings and flour.
You just take the juices and then put flour in it, and it thickens.
You can like make a stock by boiling the bones.
like bone broth is a thing.
Oh, that's not what I'm thinking of. Is making the stock from no.
So wait, are we saying it is definitely a mixed Thanksgiving dinner smoothie, or is it individual smoothies for different dishes?
I think the mix situation is better. Like that would make it more appealing to me.
Would it?
Yeah, rather than having like just a turkey smoothie and then just a potato smoothie.
But like, what if you could have like one that was like turkey stuffing and gravy, and one that was like pie and I don't know how.
Oh,
you get
yeah,
more
I guess-
liquid in it.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's what I was imagining. Not
You'd have
everything,
like
not
a
dessert and
turkey,
everything.
yeah, like a turkey one that was turkey stuffing and gravy, and then like a sides one that was like sweet potato and
Like a vegetable
something, I
one?
don't know, yeah, and corn, and then like a dessert one. I think if
Yeah,
we can
okay,
do
that's
that,
the best way to do it, I think.
if we can do that, I think I would do smoothies. If it has to be everything,
If it's everything, I still think I go smoothies. Like if the candy situation, I'm not going to be able to eat that much candy. I can eat like, I don't know, 5 pieces of candy.
yeah, I can eat like a candy bar and then start
Yeah.
getting like feeling.
Like it'll look nice, it'll be visually appealing, but I'm not going to eat any of it.
It's also not going to feel like Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, it's going to make you feel terrible afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're doing it right, you should probably feel a little terrible after Thanksgiving dinner anyway. But
Well, Thanksgiving dinner is like a comforting
yeah,
I don't even know how to put it.
I guess even that it's not going to taste like Thanksgiving dinner, and the blended one, while terrifying, will taste like Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, like eating the candy is going to like give me a headache and like a stomach ache and stuff.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, like the actual Thanksgiving smoothie dinner will probably just put me to sleep.
They're both disgusting at different scale, but one I'm going to feel slightly better afterwards. So I think I'm going to go with smoothies as well.
I also think the smoothie just feels more Thanksgiving-y than the candy one.
This is true.
So I'm also going to go smoothie.
I think I'm gonna stick with candy still. A big part of it is that visceral reaction I had to that smoothie, and I do still think it would be kind of sad and depressing to just have a cup like, here's a smoothie and this is your Thanksgiving dinner. Like I want the sit around and you have all these wonderful dishes in front of you, and yes, I'm sure some of the candy dishes will be very upsetting as well. But
I mean, you're not going to eat any of it though. It's just going to be, you're going to sit around, have food on your plate, and then no one's going to eat.
I'm gonna eat candy.
Yeah, but how much of it? Like the whole thing of Thanksgiving, you're supposed to eat a lot. Can you eat that much candy?
I could definitely eat as much candy as my body wants.
I cannot
Like,
at this point.
Yeah, I used to be able to, and I like candy, but I just can't eat that much.
I don't know. It's a would you rather. I would rather candy.
Okay.
Also, I was definitely thinking of bone broth gravy is the only one I've seen made from like scratch, which starts with bones. I was googling that while you guys were figuring.
Yeah,
your shit
don't
out.
question Ben on food stuff.
Well, I only this was the only one because like my dad literally did like a segment where he made the gravy for the Jaeger schnitzels that started with the bone broth, and he started with the bones.
Oh yeah, I guess your family has a restaurant. You have food cred. too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm not actually bad at cooking anymore, so I do have cooking knowledge. Anyway, that's that. If you want to show your thanks to the show on this Thanksgiving, you can send us a nice thank you card. That would be cool. But also, if you want to do something that's easier, doesn't require the mail system or remembering how to mail a letter,
Or us giving our addresses.
you can go to www.patreon.com/absurdhypotheticals and click on the Become a Patron button. For just $1, you get access to all our behind-the-scenes content, where we do all sorts of things like talk about how making the show, workshop new ideas, sometimes we have guests, sometimes we do all sorts of crazy things. So that is a cool place to do. It is well worth your dollar. Or if you want to not spend money but still help the show in a strong and meaningful way, leave us a review. It is one of the best ways to help spread the show and help it grow. And if more people listen to it, there's a higher chance we continue making it forever and ever and ever. And that's good for everyone. That's a win-win. But in any case, feel free to join us next week where we answer the following question. What if you had Aquaman's powers?